Very, very good. So welcome everybody. I see that there are already under the 69, under 70 people connected, under 72 people connected. I hope your International Week is proceeding in the best way you could expect and accordingly to your expectations. I've heard that there is interest around the different topics. This afternoon in Italy, so I don't know where you are, where you are connected from, but let's say this afternoon, today, we have the pleasure and the honor to have as a guest Mr. Michele Antoniazzi. Michele is the Chief Human Resource Officer at Ferrari, where he has been since a while, and where he is transforming the HR approach of Ferrari in continuity with the tradition and the values of the company, but with many innovations. We met each other, I guess, almost 3 years ago. We started different projects, and I'm also very proud to say that he is now a member of the supervisory board of Bologna Business School since Ferrari became a partner, official shareholder of the school. When I was asked to find an iconic company in Italy for a speech and the discussion, I had no doubt about the company that we went. I would like to. So spoke with Michele, he immediately accepted, and obviously we decided to focus on a very interesting experience they developed since last January, I would say, that has to do with the organizational reaction to the COVID emergency. Ferrari started early to react to possible different scenarios, and eventually created a program called Back on Track that has to do with how they could restart after the lockdown and the emergency. That's very interesting because, as you will see, it has to do with many different dimensions, individual, organizational, and also has to do with the community of Ferrari. So thank you, Michele, for joining us. Today you have 200 now participants connected out of 400 that are taking part to the International Week organized by the EMBA Consortium and BBS and the other schools that are partner of the EMBA Consortium. We have more or less 50 minutes, and I think that they already wasted 4 of them, but I thought that some introduction was needed. The idea is to have a short presentation of Ferrari, and then a presentation of the Back on Track program. We would like maybe to discuss a little bit what we will hear, and then we have some room for Q&As. So, Michele, thank you again, and I leave you the stage.
Thank you very much, Max. Hello to everybody. It's a very pleasure to me to be part of the LS3 event. I'm HR responsible since 2016 here in Ferrari. Honestly speaking, it's not easy to, let me say, explain Ferrari, and I would like to introduce it and discuss later. I would like to introduce a short video where our founder, Enzo Ferrari, explain what is Ferrari. explaining the real DNA of this company. Then I kindly ask to Alessandra to start with the first video, please.
La macchina da corsa per me è come un figlio. Quando lei pensa che il figlio rappresenta la continuità di noi stessi, lei lo porta a scuola, il giorno che riesce negli studi, che è il primo della classe, lei è orgoglioso del proprio figlio. Capita quello che per un costruttore realizza, trasformando una materia informe dei forgiati in una meccanica vivente, in una armonia di suoni. Mi ricordo che von Karajan un giorno mi disse e mi scrisse: ascoltando il vostro 12 cilindri scaturisce un'armonia che nessun maestro saprà mai interpretare. È ovvio che la macchina bisogna prima sognarla, per poi chiedere ai propri collaboratori se si sentono in grado di realizzarla, se condividono il sogno di chi vuole ottenere successo. Ma io credo che sia un po' il segreto della Ferrari, cioè ricorrere alle macchine ultramoderne per ottenere lavorazioni con rispetti millesimali e ricorrere alla capacità manuale dei nostri collaboratori per determinati montaggi e finiture dove viene dato una forma, direi una linea, un contorno a quella che è l'automobile non più di serie. Le corse trovo che sono state, come lo sono ancora oggi, una fonte inestinguibile di innovazioni, di miglioramenti. Perché trasferire su una produzione quantitativamente limitata i benefici che lei realizza nella costruzione dei motori da corsa o delle autovetture diventa una cosa abbastanza agevole, rapida. Lei trova nelle nostre macchine qualcosa di diverso. Non dico che sia sempre il meglio, no, ma qualche cosa di diverso. Perché? Perché c'è l'apporto intellettivo dell'uomo.
Then here are what is our, let me say, DNA. I would like to, let me say, underline on it that to work for Ferrari is not only an honor, but is also a duty. And normally I repeat to my guys in the HR department that we have to consider one thing working for Ferrari. You have to guarantee a sort of legacy to the people that will take your position, your place in the future. Guaranteeing them the opportunity to continue with the success that Ferrari had and has. Also when the period is not easy, and we are talking about, in this case, COVID, and the term of Formula One, a moment that it is not a brilliant one for us. The most important thing is to continue to fight and to continue to look to the future. That is one of, let me say, the secrets of this company. And taking, let me say, this sentence, look to the future, I would like to start to talk about Back on Track. Back on Track was in our, let me say, intention and mind, a project with a single target, to guarantee to our people to come back in the safest workplace. And we started, let me say, immediately to work on it. And we are talking about end of January. And honestly speaking, at the beginning, the logic was a sort of game. We would like to say, is a disaster recovery. Let's assume that COVID will hit in a dramatic way Europe and Italy. What we can do to guarantee... Sorry.
Sorry if I interrupt you. For the non-Italian, maybe it's worthwhile to remember that in January, the pandemic was very active in China, and the pandemic hit Italy around February 21, 22. So you were 3 weeks ahead in terms of coping with what could happen, but it was not happening yet.
Yes, honestly speaking, we were thinking about the fact that it was a sort of exercise, and we tried to really imagine the best way to, let me say, face this kind of issue in case. And it was informally the right, let me say, thing to do. And from February, when in a very clear way the COVID was in Italy and was hitting our country in a dramatic way, we started to work in order to, let me say, guarantee at that moment the best way to continue our activity. We arrived at a certain point, and we are talking about the middle of March, with a, let me say, a decision that was very hard to take, to close the company. The situation was really dramatic, and we decided, for the safety of our people, to close immediately. We decided on Friday to close on Monday completely the company. And on Monday, we were 5 people here in the company. We decided to start with the project, with the back on track, in order, let me say, to guarantee we were sure about one target. Ferrari has to be reopened in a very short time. Then we have, let me say, considering the new situation of COVID, we have to work in order to, let me say, face the disease in a proper manner. And we started really to change the face of Ferrari, starting from the temperature detector, the procedures to guarantee the right sanification, changing the layout of the company in order to guarantee the meter of distance, in order to guarantee the opportunity to use also the open spaces in a proper way. And we spent more or less 1 month to prepare it. And let me say, peculiar thing was that, or better, let me say, the legacy that, let me say, I have collected from this adventure was really look to the future, because you have to try to anticipate problems. And it was one first really positive and winning point. You have to work with a small team. With a small team, we were in 5, not more. You have to trust to the team, and in particular, you have to cancel hierarchy. You are around the table with colleagues, and you have to, let me say, decide and to prepare the best solution for your company. And the hierarchy exists only when you have to take a final decision. This means that buck stops here. You are in charge to take the final decision. That is, let me say, probably the most particular moment for a manager. You are alone when you have to decide. It is your responsibility. Your team did the best, and you have to choose what you want to do in 1 minute. The reciprocity is also important in terms of support. When one member of the team is not able to achieve the result, every single member of the team has to help him, and it was really a secret. And the final one is, don't consider your task completed. You have not to let me say, to do the mistakes that is, okay, target achieved, we are on the newspaper, the world is talking about back on track, we have achieved a result. Absolutely not. Nowadays, we are facing the second part of the year. We are honestly not worried, but really we are paying a lot of attention on the evolution of this disease. And we are focused in finding the best solution to guarantee, let me say, our environment. And doing it, or better, to give you an example of it, we are working with our community in terms of families of Ferrari, and community in terms of town where Ferrari is based. It's not only Maranello, but it's Formigine and Fiorano, 3 small towns where the 60% of our people are here. And involving the community, let me say, we are also supporting schools in order to guarantee the future of our community. That is also important. Max, if you have some question, please stop me because I'm reading. Or better, if you want, I can, let me say, start to answer to some questions. Formula 1 Ferrari, more than 30 years. What's happened this year with my favorite team? It's not easy to explain. When we, let me say, to compete in Formula 1 means to take risks. And sometimes to take risk means to, let me say, follow the development that probably it is fantastic in your head, but in the track is not. Then we are, let me say, working at the moment to correct some mistakes that we made. It's very simple. What I can assure to you that is our intention to restart with a long period of victories, and we are building the team to do this. At the moment we are, let me say, struggling a little bit, but don't worry. Ferrari is Ferrari, and we will come back to the position that is the position that Ferrari wants. He is the first. The second is the first of loser, let me say. Performance in terms of innovation, consider performance in Formula 1. Frankly speaking, Formula 1 for us is a laboratory. And we are applying a lot of solutions that we applied in the last 5 years in Formula 1 to the car that we are building for the road. One example, let me say, is SF90 Stradale. It's the top of the top in terms of technology. And then we are not worried about the Formula 1 period. It's clear we can, let me say, consider a period like this year for 5-10 years. But normally Ferrari Formula 1 is a part of this company that allows us to apply on the road cars the best of the best in terms of technology, and we are doing it also with the new models. We have a good exchange of technical guys from GT to Formula 1 and vice versa. Then we have a cross fertilization that is really active on it. Okay, when I think about Ferrari, I think of perfection. It is the culture of the company. But frankly speaking, yes, but the perfection for the lead doesn't exist. Then is what we want to achieve for sure. And let me say, we are working to achieve this perfection, not only in Formula 1 or road cars, but also in the organization, and in particular in the way we manage our people. It is not a simple sentence when I say that people for us is fundamental. We have demonstrated during the COVID and are demonstrating, we demonstrated during the last 70 years. We have people here that have a very huge knowledge and ability to build and to design cars. And this is our secret. The video that you saw 10 minutes ago is really, how to say, represent the Ferrari today. And you have to think that our founder died 40 years ago, more or less, and they founded Ferrari 70 years ago. The really particular and the peculiar thing is that at the moment we are able to maintain the idea of our founder. That is an additional, let me say, added value. Back on track with your action with respect to your supplier and the communities in which you work. Can you talk more about these policies? But our intention was simply to share with every single person that was interested in applying our solutions. We, let me say, have supported the schools and our communities too, but we had a lot of exchanges with other companies in Italy, supporting them in applying what Back on Track was, a sort of, let me say, procedures in order to face a very big issue in terms of health. Then absolutely, it was a sort of an open source solution, an open source project. A very interesting question, this one. How much Marchione's managerial style has influenced past results? Let me say Marchione had a strong idea about organization. He was convinced that Ferrari doesn't need to have additional people because the competencies were... Yes, sorry.
Michele, maybe it's worthwhile to say, I don't know if everybody knows, Mr. Marchione was the CEO of FCA, Ferrari, till, is it 2 years ago?
Yeah.
1 year, 2 years ago.
July
2 years ago already.
2018.
Then he suddenly died, and Ferrari went through an unexpected change of leadership. That has been another way how the company showed how they are able to react, since I think there was some and also a change at the same time. But obviously, yes, it is but I'm not sure that everybody in the 10 different countries know exactly what was.
Yeah, okay. Yes, thank you very much, Max. Anyway, to answer, Mr. Marchione's legacy was you have to win 21 Grand Prix in 1 year. That means 21-0 for our competitors. And this legacy is present for sure. We are, let me say, working on it. His idea of organization was a very peculiar idea, but all of us to, let me say, discover and to all of them to grow to some, let me say, young people that, as per today, are really covering key position in Formula One. It's for this reason that we are, let me say, saying that our team is quite young. It's a very interesting question, this one. Do you plan any change in recruiting policy after experiencing COVID-19? Absolutely not, because to have the highest talent around the world is one of the competitive advantages that we wanted to have. Then I don't want to change my strategy. I want to reinforce it, trying to choose the best guys around the world in order to guarantee the future of Ferrari. About the reduction in demand worldwide, at the moment, honestly speaking, no. We are in line with the pre-COVID period.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Why did we move the speech from 2 to 2:30?
Sorry, yes. No, but when I was engaged in
no.
I think
there was a special reason that is worthwhile.
Sorry about it. You're right. We were engaged in, let me say, ceremony. We achieved the gender equality in terms of salary in July 2020, and we were, let me say, celebrating this moment with our master guys and high talent people. It is only a first step of a long journey. We are, let me say, working to guarantee fully diversity here in Ferrari, because we consider it really another competitive advantage that Ferrari has to have to face the next 20 years. If you want, I would like to ask to Alessandra to show you a second video that is strictly related to the Back on Track project, and is, in my opinion, really useful to understand the project. Here, in a nutshell, our project, let me say. Oh, interesting. How many women form part of the company? We have 14% of women. But it's not only the percentage that, in my opinion, is important. It's the fact that we are, let me say, hiring a lot of young women that have studied in the STEAM, let me say, path universities, in order to have the manager for the future. And in my opinion, this is the most important thing for Ferrari. We have to start from young guys in order to guarantee the right balance, gender balance in the next 10 years. About the luxury market, frankly speaking, we are not, let me say, facing big issues at the moment with our customers. We are working, but it's a project that started 2 years ago in order to, let me say, catch youngest people in order to have bigger families among our, let me say, customers. But for the moment, frankly speaking, we can, let me say that COVID impacted in a dramatic way on our figures. Do you think the bad performance in Formula One this season to COVID and lack of proper management and leadership in the changing environment? No, I don't think. I don't think that is related to the COVID, and I think that is related to the bad management. We have a very good manager in Formula One. As I have already, let me say, when you take some risks, it's clear that taking risk, you risk also a season. This is the case. Absolutely, yes. I repeat, it is an open source. If you want to share the video on LinkedIn, absolutely, yes. We hope to come back to our position in Formula One, absolutely. Thank you, Emanuele.
To stay a little bit closer to our topic,
yeah.
I understand there is a lot of interest and passion spread around the world for Ferrari Formula One, and amongst our students there are many fans. That is a good thing.
We are happy about it.
No, I'm very happy. I was a fan since I was a kid, and I remember when I was 12 years old and I met Enzo Ferrari during a private visit at the company. That was amazing. I think something very interesting. I will share with the students also the article that we've wrote and was published on the website of Harvard Business School.
Francesca Gino, yeah.
With Francesca, yes. I believe that what you did behind the technical things, the masks and the certification and the check and the tracing and the reshaping of the layout of the manufacturing, the reshaping of the canteen, the certification carpets, and many different things. The testing of volunteer testing, but 98% of the employees joined the testing. 97. How many?
But at the moment, we're talking about 99.7% of our people.
7% of the employees joined the volunteer program of blood testing, so to create a safe environment. You also created a kind of quarantine hotels or similar for people that were found positive in order to protect their own families, and many other different things. This is something that you started very early, and you have been a model for many companies in Italy and many companies around the world that they followed your approach. Maybe not that far, not with the same large, let's say, impact that you had, but the methodology was pretty imitated, and this is a good by other companies. Something that is very interesting to me that has to do with both the shareholders versus stakeholder values and with the long-term versus short-term approach. You extended your actions not just to the employees, not just to their families, not just to the suppliers that are on your premises, but you extended this set of actions to the communities. Participants that are connected should know that Ferrari is located in a small town near Modena called Maranello.
Yeah, Maranello, Fiorano, and
And 90% of Maranello, Fiorano, Formigine, that they are, let's say, in 10 kilometers from each other.
Yeah.
You extended this screening, blood test screening, and different actions to the community, families, and the suppliers. And I think this is a very visionary approach. Would you like to tell us something on that and try to make sense of what you did?
Yes, it's very easy. Ferrari is a company that, let me say, have to do something also for the collectivity. Then we decided to do it not only to protect Ferrari, but really to give an additional help to our community. It is a duty for us, honestly speaking. We are, let me say, we are producing the beautiful cars, and we are honestly a rich company. Then we have, in a moment like this one, to help our community, not only our community, let me say, help the hospitals of Modena province. We spent 4 million euro with them in order to guarantee the right machineries, the opportunity to be present, localized in the territory, not only in 3 hospitals in the region. We tried to pass our culture to our community because it's the best way to face an eventual second wave. We can, let me say, allow to ourselves to be only focused on Ferrari. It is not correct. It's not a sustainable behavior. It's not an acceptable behavior. We have to share because it's correct to share. Simply, we started with some solutions and we decided immediately to share them. We are, let me say, going forward. We are deciding to move from the blood exams to the swab for every single person in Ferrari. And every 4 weeks, we repeat the blood exams, for example, to give to our people the maximum of trust in us and in the situation that they are trying to create in our, let me say, small community. Then the initial idea was not with a specific target. We said we are working in a certain way. The results are arriving. It is correct to share what we did with our companies in order also to increase and to implement the procedures and protocols. And actually, we are also copying some solutions that are arriving from companies that started with us. Then I think that is a very virtuous circle that we have to continue to implement. It's a social approach, in my opinion. And
this has a lot to do with last August, not this August, August 2019. The Business Roundtable, that is the association of the CEO of the 200 largest companies in the US, not of the companies, the association of the CEOs of the 200 largest companies, released a new statement on the purpose of the company, of the corporation, saying that the purpose was not only to create values for the stakeholders, according to Milton Friedman famous articles back 40 years ago or more, but that the purpose of the company was to create value for the stakeholders. So that means a completely different approach. You should consider that in a public company, as a CEO, you should be very careful to give a value to somebody that is not a stakeholder, because the stakeholder could say that you as a CEO wasted the value that was not yours, but was owned or due to the stakeholders. So this change of approach created a lot of debate between the people in the business community, most of the influential financial news papers, journals, and obviously in academics. And some of the criticism was that this approach, this statement, in many ways remained a statement. No actions followed this statement. And I think that in order to find some example about what does it mean to take a stakeholder perspective rather than a shareholder perspective, what you did in this COVID emergency is an answer to this issue.
Yes, honestly, you said it correctly. Purpose are purpose, fact are fact. Are facts. Then we are, let me say, playing on a different level. No, it's clear that we are completely in agreement with the purpose that you said. The most important, let me say, thing to do is to demonstrate with facts that you are really sticking to the point.
Do we have any other question?
If you want to let me talk about electric car, yes, for sure. We are, let me say, analyzing every single plan in terms of evolution of, say, products. F90 Stradale has 3 electric engines and 1 endothermic. About the question, how easy it was to agree the term of back on track program with employees. You have to know that we were in continuous contact with our employees. The communication coming from Ferrari to our people was continuous flow. Then we sent the procedures and protocols 3 months before, immediately, let me say, 2 months before the reopening date. We updated them about every single news in the company. Then the communication was really key, and we tried to be more than clear with our people, and they appreciated, honestly speaking, and we are very happy about it. We have 45 seconds, 43. Yes, thank you very much for your attention. I hope that our discussion was interesting enough for you. And please feel free to contact me or Massimo in order to have additional infos about not only the project, but let's say the strategy of Ferrari. It will be a pleasure to discuss with you about it.